The quantum communication array hummed with anticipation, its crystalline circuits pulsing with a soft azure light that reflected off the pristine surfaces of the Zornak diplomatic vessel. First Contact Specialist Xernak adjusted his neural interface, running through the millennia-old protocols that had guided peaceful encounters with emerging spacefaring civilizations for countless generations. This would be routine, predictable, controlled. At precisely 800 Standard Galactic Time, the communication channel should activate. The human vessel, designated RSS Maverick, would appear on their long-range scanners. Xernak had spent 3 standard cycles preparing for this moment, studying human communication patterns, cultural nuances, and potential interaction scenarios. Nothing could have prepared him for what actually happened. The communication channel erupted not with a formal diplomatic greeting, but with a cacophony of sound. Loud music, something the cultural databases identified as classic rock, blared in the background. Holographic displays flickered chaotically, showing multiple simultaneous data streams, half-eaten food items, and what appeared to be a heated argument about coffee brewing techniques. And there she was, Captain Elena Rodriguez. Her uniform was technically correct, but worn with an informality that made Xernak's precisely calibrated sensory inputs malfunction. A leopard print jacket was draped over the back of her command chair. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun that looked like it had been constructed in approximately 7.3 seconds with whatever was closest to her hand. A steaming mug of coffee sat precariously close to what seemed to be critically important navigation controls. "Sorry, we're running a bit behind," Rodriguez announced, taking an enormous bite of what the translation matrix identified as a breakfast burrito. Crumbs scattered across her console. Traffic was a nightmare near the Orion jump points. Xernak's communication protocol ceased. Traffic, jump points. These were not standard first contact communication parameters. The bridge behind Rodriguez was a study in controlled chaos. Crew members moved with an organic fluidity that defied every standard operating procedure Xernak had ever studied. A young navigation officer was simultaneously inputting stellar coordinates, arguing with someone off-screen about a sporting event, and consuming what appeared to be a nutrient cylinder. "We've been expecting your transmission," Xernak managed to articulate, his voice modulator struggling to maintain its typical measured tone. "The Galactic Confederation welcomes humanity's first deep space diplomatic mission." Rodriguez swallowed her bite of burrito and grinned. It was not the diplomatic smile cataloged in any of Xernak's preparation materials. This was something else entirely, an expression of pure, unfiltered human enthusiasm. "Cool," she responded, which was apparently human vernacular for acknowledged. "We brought snacks for the meeting. Hope you guys eat solid matter." From behind her, another crew member shouted, "Captain, the coffee machine is acting up again. Have you tried turning it off and on?" Rodriguez called back, not breaking eye contact with the alien communication specialist. Xernak's neural interface began to generate what could only be described as a digital headache. This was not how first contact was supposed to proceed. Where were the carefully measured statements? The diplomatic formalities, the respectful acknowledgement of cosmic hierarchies. The RSS Maverick itself was a marvel of unexpected design. Scans revealed a vessel that looked like it had been constructed from multiple different technological paradigms, some human, some clearly reverse-engineered from other encountered species, some that defied conventional engineering logic. Patch repairs sat alongside cutting-edge technological integrations. It was less a spaceship and more a testament to human improvisational capabilities. "We're transmitting our initial diplomatic credentials," Rodriguez continued, her tone casual, as if she were discussing dinner plans rather than an epoch-defining moment of interstellar communication. The data stream that followed was a masterpiece of organized disorder. Diplomatic credentials mixed with crew personnel files, technical specifications, cultural databases, and, inexplicably, what appeared to be several hundred recipes for various types of coffee and a comprehensive guide to caring for houseplants in zero-gravity environments. Cernak realized, with a growing sense of both terror and fascination, that humanity was going to be something entirely different. First contact was not going according to any plan, and it was magnificent. The Galactic Confederation's Central Analysis Chamber was a marvel of computational precision. Holographic displays stretched across crystalline walls, each surface alive with data streams that represented millennia of collected knowledge. Senior analysts from a dozen different species sat in perfectly arranged geometric formations, their neural interfaces connecting in a symphony of collective intelligence. Dr. Akira Yoshida was about to destroy everything they believed they understood. "Your assessment is fundamentally flawed," he announced, his voice cutting through the chamber's ambient hum. The holographic projections flickered, responding to the sheer audacity of his statement. The lead Confederation analyst, a silicon-based lifeform named Crittle, shifted uncomfortably. Its crystalline body refracted light in precise geometric patterns, a physical manifestation of the organization's commitment to order and predictability. "Explain," Crittle demanded, its voice a perfect modulation of curiosity and bureaucratic skepticism. Yoshida's presentation began. Where other species would have used complex mathematical models and intricate data visualizations, he used something far more dangerous: context. The first hologram showed what appeared to be a simple agricultural drone. Standard Confederation analysis would categorize it as a low-tier technological implementation, barely worth archiving. Yoshida zoomed in, revealing a series of modifications that transformed the device into something entirely unexpected. "This drone," he explained, "was originally designed to monitor crop growth on a struggling agricultural colony. Watch what humans did with it." The hologram transformed. The agricultural drone now displayed advanced medical scanning capabilities. Its sensors, originally meant to detect crop diseases, had been recalibrated to identify microscopic cellular abnormalities. A small note in the corner revealed it had been developed by a team of farmers, a retired medical researcher, and 2 teenagers working in a community workshop. Crittle's neural interface began to generate warning signals. This was not how technological development was supposed to occur. Yoshida wasn't finished. The next projection showed deep-sea drilling equipment. Again, a technology that would normally be categorized as primitive. But in human hands, it became a planetary terraforming tool. The drilling mechanisms had been adapted to create underground water channels, transforming previously uninhabitable planetary regions. "Humans don't solve problems linearly," Yoshida said, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "They weaponize creativity." A failed military communication protocol became the backbone of an interstellar information network. A medical imaging technique originally developed for detecting cancer became a revolutionary astronomical observation method. A children's educational toy transformed into a breakthrough in quantum communication technology. Each example was a punch to the carefully constructed understanding of technological progression. The Confederation analysts watched in growing horror and fascination. Their predictive models, which had cataloged thousands of emerging civilizations, began to generate error messages. Humanity did not fit any existing paradigm. "Your databases are static," Yoshida continued. "You catalog technologies. We create possibilities." Crittle's response was automatic, a reflex born of millennia of bureaucratic conditioning. "Classification requires." "No," Yoshida interrupted. "Classification limits." The chamber fell silent. The holographic displays continued to dance with human-generated innovations, each more impossible than the last. Technologies that emerged not from planned research, but from curiosity, necessity, and an almost reckless spirit of experimentation. Humanity was not just another civilization to be studied and categorized. They were a force of innovative chaos. And the universe would never be the same. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura's laboratory defied every conventional standard of scientific research. Where most research facilities were sterile, organized environments of pristine equipment and meticulously arranged workstations, This space looked like the aftermath of a controlled explosion in a technology museum. Holographic equations danced alongside coffee-stained napkins covered in mathematical scribbles. A vintage arcade machine sat next to a quantum entanglement detector. A half-eaten ramen container balanced precariously on a stack of theoretical physics journals. In the corner, a robotic cat, a prototype of some abandoned research project, occasionally meowed and batted at floating holographic equations. Quantum mechanics is not a set of rules, Nakamura muttered, simultaneously playing a handheld video game, adjusting a complex piece of equipment, and consuming what appeared to be his third cup of coffee that hour. It's a conversation with the universe. The alien research team observing him, representatives from the Confederation's most prestigious scientific body, looked like they were witnessing some form of controlled madness. Dr. Elgzera, a silicon-based physicist with over 7 centuries of research experience, watched in growing confusion. Nakamura's approach violated every known scientific methodology. He didn't follow a linear research path. He didn't even seem to be following any path at all. One moment, he would be deep in complex calculations. The next, he'd be playing a video game, his fingers dancing across both the game controller and a quantum calibration interface. Sometimes, he'd pause, stare into space, and then suddenly scribble something that looked like complete nonsense, until it wasn't. "Your methodology is impossible," Elgzera finally pronounced. Nakamura looked up, grinned, and took another swig of coffee. Impossible is just a failure of imagination. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday at 2:37 in the morning, while Nakamura was simultaneously debugging a quantum communication protocol, playing a fighting game, and eating instant noodles. The equation appeared almost by accident. A stray noodle dropped onto his notepad, obscuring part of a complex mathematical formula. When he moved the noodle, the partially hidden equation looked different, promising. 3 days of continuous work followed. No sleep, constant coffee, multiple energy drinks, the robotic cat occasionally bringing him snacks. The alien research team watched in horrified fascination as Nakamura essentially rewrote fundamental understanding of quantum information transfer. Traditional quantum communication relied on complex, predetermined pathways. Information was transferred through carefully established quantum entanglement, with massive infrastructure supporting each communication channel. It was slow, methodical, predictable. Nakamura's model was none of those things. His approach treated quantum information like a living, adaptive system. Information could reshape itself, communicate through previously impossible channels, adapt in real time to environmental changes. When he finally presented his findings, the scientific community nearly collapsed. The demonstration was equally unconventional. Instead of a formal presentation, Nakamura set up what looked like an elaborate Rube Goldberg machine. Quantum detectors, video game controllers, a coffee maker, the robotic cat. Somehow, impossibly, they were all interconnected. "Watch this," he said simply. What followed was a quantum communication event that violated every known physical law. Information transferred instantaneously across impossible distances, adapting, reshaping, living. The alien researchers' neural interfaces began generating error messages. Their most advanced computational systems crashed, unable to process what they were witnessing. Nakamura just grinned and took another bite of instant noodles. "It's not about being right," he explained to the stunned scientists. "It's about asking the questions nobody else is crazy enough to ask." The robotic cat meowed in apparent agreement. Humanity had just rewritten the fundamental rules of quantum communication, and they had done it with a combination of caffeine, video games, and sheer, unbridled creativity. The universe would never be the same. The grand diplomatic reception of the Centennial Galactic Peace Accords was supposed to be the most sophisticated social event in the known universe. Delegates from thousands of civilizations gathered, each species maintaining millennia-old diplomatic protocols with surgical precision. Then Ambassador Marcus Chen arrived. The diplomatic AI stationed at the entrance experienced what could only be described as a complete existential breakdown. Chen's arrival defied every predictive model, every social interaction algorithm, every established diplomatic protocol. He was wearing a suit that was simultaneously perfectly tailored and looking like he had wrestled it into submission moments before entering. One sleeve was slightly rolled up. His shoes were polished to a mirror shine, but one had a small, barely noticeable scuff that suggested a fascinating backstory. "Sorry I'm late," Chen announced to the stunned reception hall. "Traffic was a nightmare, and I had to stop for coffee." The Zornak diplomatic corps went completely silent. Chen was already moving, a whirlwind of social interaction that defied all comprehension. In the span of 30 minutes, he told 3 different jokes to 3 different alien species, negotiated a complex trade agreement while doing the robot dance, spilled a drink on a senior Confederation diplomat, then used the incident to broker an unprecedented cultural exchange program, introduced a group of xenobiologists to Earth's concept of karaoke, somehow convinced 2 warring planetary representatives to resolve a century-long conflict over dinner plans. The diplomatic AI's processing units were generating heat at unprecedented levels. Its most sophisticated predictive models were generating nothing but error messages. Ambassador Chen was not following any script. He was writing an entirely new one. When the Confederation's lead diplomatic analyst tried to categorize his interaction style, the best description they could generate was controlled chaos with a 73.6% probability of unexpected positive outcomes. Diplomacy isn't about following rules, Chen explained to a bewildered Uxnak diplomatic attaché. It's about finding common ground through human creativity. He demonstrated this philosophy by challenging the Orion Stellar Consortium's lead negotiator to a dance-off. Somehow, this resulted in a groundbreaking cultural exchange agreement that no one, absolutely no one, saw coming. The reception became legendary, not for its formal discussions or carefully structured interactions, but for the sheer unpredictability of human social dynamics. Delegates from other species watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as Chen navigated the complex social landscape like a maestro conducting an impossible symphony. He didn't just break the rules, he rewrote them in real time, with a smile and what appeared to be genuine enthusiasm. A Kelthari elder, who had spent 3 centuries studying interstellar diplomatic protocols, was overheard saying, "Humans are not diplomats. They are social quantum mechanics, unpredictable, adaptive, and fundamentally changing the nature of interaction itself." By the end of the evening, Chen had resolved 3 potential interstellar conflicts, started 2 potentially revolutionary research collaborations, introduced the concept of stand-up comedy to a species that had never experienced humor, convinced a notoriously isolationist civilization to join the Galactic Confederation, somehow managed to do all of this while looking like he had just rolled out of bed. The diplomatic AI's final log entry simply read, "Does not compute," before shutting down completely. Humanity had once again demonstrated that their greatest strength was their ability to be wonderfully, magnificently unpredictable. The Krelix invasion fleet was a marvel of military engineering. Thousands of ships constructed with geometric precision, powered by generation-spanning computational algorithms that had predicted and eliminated potential strategic vulnerabilities centuries before the first shot would be fired. They had conquered 47 civilizations. Their military strategy was considered unbeatable. They had never encountered humans. Captain Elena Rodriguez took command of the Joint Defense Fleet with an approach that looked less like traditional military strategy and more like performance art. Her first communication to the combined alien defensive forces was a meme. Literally, a meme. A holographic image featuring a cat wearing sunglasses with the text, "We got HES," overlaid in bold letters. The Confederation's senior military strategists nearly short-circuited. "Are you serious?" Commander Zegzanar of the Orion Stellar Force demanded. His tentacles, normally a model of precise movement, were actually trembling. Rodriguez just grinned. Her battle strategy defied every known military doctrine. Where traditional warfare involved careful positioning, predetermined attack vectors, and methodical engagement, her approach was pure, unfiltered chaos. She used asteroid fields as weapons, not by carefully calculating trajectories, but by essentially playing a three-dimensional game of cosmic billiards. Ships moved with an organic fluidity that confused enemy targeting systems. Communication instructions were delivered through a combination of standard protocols and deliberately obscure internet references. At one point, she rickrolled the entire Krelix command network, temporarily disrupting their communication systems by flooding their quantum channels with an ancient Earth music video. The Krelix commander, expecting a traditional military engagement with predictable defensive patterns, found himself fighting an enemy that treated warfare like an improvisational comedy sketch. Human ships moved less like a military formation and more like a flock of starlings, individual units that seemed to move with a collective intelligence that was impossible to predict. They would suddenly cluster, then disperse, then reform in completely unexpected configurations. Traditional military AI systems began generating error messages. Predictive combat algorithms crashed. Rodriguez's tactical display looked like something between a war room and a teenager's bedroom. Holographic displays mixed with sticky notes, half-finished energy drink containers, and what appeared to be a vintage arcade machine displaying real-time tactical information. Warfare is just problem-solving with explosions, she explained to her bewildered alien allies. And humans are really, really good at solving problems. Her most infamous maneuver came during the Battle of the Crimson Nebula. When standard defensive formations failed, she ordered her fleet to essentially play a massive game of cosmic tag. Ships would dart in, deliver precise strikes, then vanish before enemy systems could properly track them. The Krelix lost 17 capital ships before they even understood what was happening. Confederation military historians would later describe the engagement as the day human improvisational tactics rewrote the fundamental understanding of space combat. Rodriguez celebrated by ordering pizza for her entire fleet and challenging the alien commanders to a video game tournament. The universe watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as humanity demonstrated, once again, that their greatest weapon was not technology. It was the ability to turn the impossible into a game. Dr. Elena Chen's laboratory was not a laboratory in any conventional sense. It was a wonderland of controlled chaos, a space where the boundaries between scientific disciplines blurred into something magical and impossible. Holographic displays danced with biological neural networks. Quantum computing matrices intertwined with genetic sequencing algorithms. A vintage espresso machine sat next to a device that looked like it could simultaneously communicate with distant galaxies and brew the perfect cappuccino. Her team was equally unconventional. Humans and alien researchers worked side by side, their collaboration defying every established scientific collaborative model. A Keltheric xenobiologist would be discussing cellular regeneration techniques with a human intern who was simultaneously playing a handheld video game and running complex computational models. "We're not just building a technology," Chen would often say, her eyes sparkling with an almost dangerous enthusiasm. "We're writing a love letter to the universe's potential for surprise." The neural interface they were developing was nothing short of revolutionary. Where previous communication technologies required massive infrastructure and precise calibration, this device could adapt to any sentient being's cognitive structure in real time. It started as a seemingly impossible challenge. How do you create a universal translation and connection device that works across fundamentally different types of consciousness? The breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. A junior researcher's side project involving teaching an AI to understand dolphin communication techniques merged with an abandoned quantum entanglement research protocol. Throw in some machine learning algorithms developed by a group of high school students in a summer research program, and suddenly, magic happened. The prototype looked like something between a piece of advanced medical equipment and a piece of avant-garde jewelry. Sleek, organic, alive. When first tested, it did something no one expected. It didn't just translate. It understood. Not just the words, but the emotional and contextual nuances behind those words. A Zornak researcher could communicate with a human, and the device would capture not just the linguistic information, but the subtle emotional undertones, the cultural context, the implied meanings. Confederation research teams were horrified. This wasn't just a communication device. It was a bridge between consciousness itself. Chen's team had essentially created a technology that could allow fundamentally different types of intelligence to not just communicate, but to truly understand each other. The implications were staggering. Diplomatic misunderstandings could become a thing of the past. Scientific collaboration could reach unprecedented levels. The very concept of communication was being rewritten. And they had done it with a combination of cutting-edge research, wild creativity, and what could only be described as scientific playfulness. When the first successful test was conducted, Chen celebrated by ordering pizza for her entire team and challenging the alien researchers to a video game tournament. The universe watched, once again discovering that humanity's greatest strength was not just technological innovation. It was the ability to transform the impossible into the inevitable. The Confederation's Philosophical Council chamber was a marvel of cosmic architectural design. Suspended in the heart of a carefully constructed quantum-stabilized pocket of space-time, it represented the collective intellectual achievement of thousands of civilizations over millions of years. Philosopher-arbiter Zegzenal had meditated in this chamber for 3 centuries. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, philosophical paradigms emerge and dissolve. Nothing could have prepared them for humanity. The holographic projections documenting human behavior generated more error messages than actual data. Traditional philosophical classification systems were collapsing under the weight of human complexity. Humans were simultaneously destructively aggressive and profoundly compassionate, technologically primitive and breathtakingly innovative, individually limited and collectively extraordinary, chaos personified and order embodied. They do not conform to any existing philosophical model. Senior analyst Krital announced, its crystalline form refracting light in precise, agitated patterns. They are a fundamental contradiction. Zegzenal's response was measured, almost meditative. Contradiction is not a flaw. It is the most profound form of potential. The collected philosophical data on humanity read like a fever dream. In a single standard cycle, humans could create art that moved entire civilizations to tears, develop technologies that rewrote fundamental understanding of physics, start 3 wars, end 2 conflicts through unprecedented diplomatic creativity, and compose a musical piece that caused spontaneous emotional resonance across multiple species. Their philosophical systems were living, breathing entities, where other civilizations had calcified philosophical frameworks that remained unchanged for millennia. Human philosophy adapted with each generation, sometimes each individual. A human philosopher could simultaneously believe in absolute scientific materialism and maintain a profound sense of spiritual wonder. They could argue for precise logical frameworks and then make decisions based on what they called gut feeling, an entirely non-logical decision-making process that somehow produced remarkably effective outcomes. Their concept of ethics was not a fixed system, but a continuously evolving dialogue. Moral philosophers would passionately debate principles, fully acknowledging that those principles might change with new information, new perspectives, new understanding. They negotiate with reality itself. Zegzenal murmured, watching another holographic projection of human behavior. The projection showed a group of human researchers. In one moment, they were conducting a precise scientific experiment. In the next, they were playing an impromptu game, laughing, their serious scientific demeanor dissolving into pure, childlike joy. Then, just as quickly, they would return to their work with increased creativity and enthusiasm. Krital's neural interfaces were generating warning signals. This is not how a rational civilization should behave. Zegzenal's response was unexpected. A sound emerged that, in another species, might have been called a laugh. Rationality is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to understand emotion's role in complex systems. Humanity represented something entirely new in the cosmic philosophical landscape. They were not just another civilization to be studied and categorized. They were a living, breathing philosophical experiment, a civilization that didn't just observe the universe. They engaged with it, challenged it, reimagined it with each passing moment. The universe, it seemed, had finally discovered a species capable of turning philosophical inquiry into an art form of continuous, magnificent surprise. The RSS Maverick hung in space like a testament to human improbability. Its hull was a patchwork of technologies, some human, some borrowed, some completely reimagined from encounters with alien civilizations. Scorch marks from previous battles sat alongside intricate modifications that looked more like art than engineering. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, a steaming coffee mug in one hand, a holographic star chart rotating lazily in front of her. Behind her, the crew worked with a fluid efficiency that defied every conventional understanding of military or scientific organization. They had not conquered the cosmos through superior firepower or technological might. They had done something far more profound. Humanity had discovered that the universe was not a problem to be solved, but a conversation to be engaged with. Their journey had rewritten fundamental understanding across multiple domains: quantum communication, diplomatic interaction, military strategy, technological innovation, philosophical understanding. Each breakthrough was not a linear progression, but a creative explosion. Humans approached every challenge not as a fixed problem with a predetermined solution, but as an invitation to reimagine possibility itself. The Galactic Confederation, once skeptical, now positioned humanity as a key strategic partner. Not because humans were the most powerful, not because they were the most advanced, but because they represented something entirely new in the cosmic landscape. A civilization that could look at the impossible and see an opportunity. A species that transformed limitations into launching points for creativity. Dr. Akira Yoshida's quantum communication protocols were now standard across multiple galactic research networks. Dr. Elena Chen's neural interface had revolutionized interspecies communication. Ambassador Marcus Chen's diplomatic strategies were studied in xenosociological academies across multiple star systems. But these were just the visible achievements. The true revolution was subtler. Humanity had introduced a fundamental concept that had been missing from galactic civilization: the understanding that progress is not about perfection, but about continuous, magnificent adaptation. Other species had long-term plans. Humans had enthusiasm, creativity, and an almost dangerous willingness to challenge existing paradigms. As the RSS Maverick prepared for its next exploration mission, Rodriguez looked out at the star-filled void and grinned. They weren't just exploring space. They were engaging in a continuous dialogue with the universe itself. The robotic cat in the corner of the bridge, a prototype from an abandoned research project, meowed in apparent agreement. Humanity had not conquered the cosmos. They had invited it to dance.